One of the most famous quotes from the 1996 film Trainspotting was,
"It's shite being Scottish!"
And as we approach the 30th anniversary of that now epic blockbuster film, I want to consider, if it was remade today, would that line stay in the movie? Would it be downgraded to, it's no shite being Scottish now, or would it be changed to, it's even shitier being Scottish? Because there's two quite momentous things happened since 1996, and that was the creation, through devolution, of a Scottish Parliament. And then in 2007, we had the power grab by the SNP, who have remained in power ever since. Now, considering if Scotland is still shite or not, should not be confused with being anti-Scottish. In fact, I'm very proud to be Scottish. But the pride I have in Scotland is based more on historical fact than current day. And I hark back to times where we had leading engineers, leading sports personalities, leading economists, banking, some of the biggest and best inventions in the world were brought to the world by Scottish people. I'm so proud of these things. But what I would ask you to do is, since the days of penicillin and Tan Macadam and steam engines and all these amazing things, when was the last time we saw any great Scots? When was the last time we seen any great inventions or gifts to the world by a Scottish person? I'm still proud that we've had all these things, but they're very, very past memories now. Now, in the words of one of the great sons of Scotland, Billy Connolly, there is no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing. But it's not just this weather that makes Scotland shite, and potentially more shite over the last 30 years. And what I want to do in this video, I want to look at three things about the SNP. I want to look at their broken promises. I want to look at the things that they brought in that were terrible. And I want to look at the things that they attempted to bring in that could have potentially made us even more shite than they've managed to make us since 2007. Now, when they first came into power in 2007, the manifesto that year alone promised two big, massive headline promises. One, they would abolish council tax. And two, they promised to have primary school classes in Scotland to be set at a maximum of 18. Now, 2025, we still have community charges, council tax. Class sizes are nowhere near 18, most prominently high 20s and low 30s in some of our busiest schools. Now let's look at some of the things they have brought to the party. We had the ridiculous Offensive Behaviour at Football Act that brought out legislation that wasn't needed because nobody was charged successfully through that legislation. It couldn't have been charged the day before through current legislation. So it seemed that this government were determined to have one part of society, i.e. football fans, treated differently from everyone else. That was also followed up by the Hate Crime Act, which again, we've seen plenty of complaints, but we've not seen so many people actually convicted due to these complaints. So again, this legislation, what did it actually achieve? As far as attempted legislation, one of the most ridiculous things they tried to bring in was the Named Persons Act. And what that would have done is, that would have made the state every child's guardian, where every child born in Scotland would have a named person who was ultimately responsible for that person. And that wasn't a parent, that wasn't a family member, that was to be a guardian of the state. The Gender Recognition Bill, what that would have meant was anybody in Scotland, myself included, I could live, put a dress on for 3 months, then go online, pay £5 and tell the world I was a female. Without any medical intervention whatsoever, I could have then been legally lived and presented as a female. I would have been able to walk into any job where they needed females and been into women's safe spaces, be able to go where I want in a changing room if I visited a health centre, a sports centre, or even the local swimming baths. These crackpots got that through Parliament. And but for the grace of God and the intervention of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, they knocked that in the head. We had another bit of legislation that they did pass about the bottle return system that they wanted to bring into Scotland. They actually got that passed our Parliament until the United Government Parliament said you can't have trading two different ways for any industry. In the United Kingdom, where people who manufacture drinks, soft drinks included, would have to have a different system in Scotland when you bought a bottle of pop than if you did south of Carlisle. We also had the claim that they were going to decide on a new referendum. That went all the way to the Supreme Court until Nicola Sturgeon was told that's not your remit, it's not part of your devolved powers. And that reminded me that Nicola Sturgeon was one of the two signatories on behalf of Scotland, the other being Alex Salmond, who signed the Edinburgh Agreement that promised to respect the outcome of the future referendum. Now, it didn't say on it, subject to no material changes, subject to being in the EU. It was to respect the result of the referendum. And unless you're living in the moon, you've heard them not respect that referendum, come up with every single excuse under the sun to get a new one, and come up with some pish that it was material changes, that we got taken out of the EU against our will. So what are we good at? Well, we've got the highest drug deaths in the whole of Europe. When you look at the United Kingdom, we've got the lowest life expectancies. This city I'm in here, Glasgow, a place I'm very proud to live, is the actual asylum capital of the United Kingdom, where we have more asylum seekers in here. And here's the thing, the Scottish Government told us about a year ago that we've got a national housing crisis. We don't have enough houses. But can we have more asylum seekers, please? Make that make sense. We've got one of the worst crime asylum hotels in the UK per head of capita in Falkirk. We now know factually about 3 cases, but I quite believe there's been at least half a dozen cases of our own people being assaulted sexually by people we put up in those hotels. This is Scotland. One of the most mental things about the whole independence thing is, if you were living at the time, particularly up here, and you would have heard what was going to make us the richest wee country in the world, we're all going to have gold-plated driveways, was oil. And the majority of their economic argument was based on oil. But then when they couldn't get a government without a coalition with the Greens, suddenly oil became a bad thing. And now you've got the same people that were telling you about oil and how wonderful it was and how we were going to be rich and that's why we should vote for independence. They will now actually tell you, I never said that, our argument was never based purely on oil. That was amongst loads of other things. So what other things? Whisky and tourism. And this SNP government are now wanting to start taxing everybody that stays in our cities as a tourist and have tourist tax. That'll get the tourists to come, eh? They're absolutely crackpots. So I would challenge those who made Trainspotting to revisit it. Do it 30 years later. See if society has changed for the better or for the worse. And I challenge you to refilm that famous quote when they got off at the station in the middle of nowhere and Ewan McGregor's character decided to tell the world it's shite being Scottish. Because you know what? You were 100% right.
It's shite being Scottish!
So if you enjoyed this video and you want others to see it, click a thumbs up, put your comments below and hit the share button. If you've not already done so, or you think you might already have, just double check and click on the subscribe button if you've not, or it's remarkably became unsubscribed. But more important than all that, unless you're the type of crackpot that thinks this place we live in is absolutely fandabby-dozy and would be better having unicorns and oil and gas that we've told you they're not going to have anyway, and you believe all the shite about independence, then not you. But everyone else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.
doesn't it make you proud to be Scottish?
It's shite being Scottish! We're the lowest of the low! The scum of the fucking earth! The most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shot into civilization! Some people hate the English, I don't! They're just wankers!